Representation in comics has gradually been getting better over the years. I mean, sure, it's by no means perfect, let alone sometimes satisfactory if we're being honest, but the kinds of representation in the panels of major publishers has increased from non-existent and negative portrayals to ones of substance and positivity, and that is a win, even though it's a small one. The LGBTQ community are one of the groups who have longed for better representation in the medium, and today we are taking a closer look at what is out there, and particularly the wild circumstances or series of events surrounding the queer couplings that we see on the pages of some of our favorite comic books. For the most part, much of the "you won't believe" in this title comes from the surprising events under which these couples occurred, while others are just flat out surprising in the sense that you probably didn't know they were part of the queer community, and that's dope. So with that in mind, let's get to our list of the top 10 LGBTQ+ superhero couples you won't believe, but actually probably totally can. Starting us off in at number 10, Apollo and Midnighter. Have you ever wondered what it'd be like if Superman and Batman fell in love? Well, enter Apollo and Midnighter. They're essentially analogs for Superman and Batman, but gay, and more violent. These two were previously characters published by Wildstorm prior to DC picking up the rights and publishing a 6-issue miniseries that followed the adventures of the dynamic duo. Apollo was one of the first openly gay characters in comics, and similar to Superman, uses the energy of the sun to power himself. The difference is his abilities go beyond DC's Man of Steel. He's omnipotent, can manipulate on a molecular level, he can warp reality, yeah, lots of stuff. Midnighter, on the other hand, is quite different than Batman, in the sense that he has no issue killing, and he generally murders a lot of his criminal opponents. He also has enhanced abilities beyond what Bruce Wayne is capable of. Now, Apollo and Midnighter first kissed on the panels of The Authority issue 7, and would eventually get married and even adopt a daughter together. Then, when their rights went to DC, the two of them were actually no longer a couple. Their history was practically retconned, despite their sexualities remaining intact, and Midnighter dating around a lot. Oh, retcons. Anywho, back to that series that we mentioned. As part of DC Rebirth, the two of them got their own joint series in which writer Steve Orlando wanted to further explore their romantic relationship, and even reintroduce a queer character who had received abysmal treatment in the past, magician character Extrano. Extrano ended up aiding them in their mission too. The comic received overwhelmingly positive reviews from critics, with many expressing it was one of the best series of 2016. In at number 9, Wiccan and Hulkling. Wiccan and Hulkling are anything but shocking. Most people probably know them as a gay couple in comics. Now Wiccan, aka Billy Kaplan, the long-lost son of Scarlet Witch, is a reality warper with magical abilities who first debuted in Young Avengers issue 1 in 2005. Hulkling, who gets his name from his green muscular appearance, is Teddy Altman, the half-Kree, half-Skrull son of the original Captain Marvel, Marvel, and Princess Anel. Hulkling and Wiccan would found the Young Avengers together, and despite the intention of writer-creator Alan Heinberg to reveal that they were a couple in issue 12 of that series, fans kinda put 2 and 2 together long beforehand and figured it out. Despite this, their first on-panel kiss wouldn't occur until Avengers: The Children's Crusade in 2010. It's a long time in between. And the two would become engaged. Now here's where that whole shocking bit comes in. After their first kiss in Brazil, the mayor of Rio de Janeiro caused quite the scandal when they attempted to seize copies of the comic and ban it. Thus began a whole lot of censorship backlash, with newspapers even publishing the image of the kiss on their front page in retaliation. The mayor, evangelical Marcello Crivella, tried to justify the actions by stating, I quote, "It is not censorship or homophobia as many people think. We just want to protect our children, fight in defense of Brazilian families, and comply with the law." Yeah, sounds like homophobia to me, buddy. And at number 8, Carolina Dean and XAVIN. Carolina and XAVIN are a couple from Runaways, a series penned by Brian K. Vaughan that follows teen superheroes whose parents turn out to be supervillains. Carolina first came out in the series when she fell for team leader Nico, but was rejected. And imagine the timing of when XAVIN, a Skrull prince who Carolina's parents had promised her to, shows up with the intention of getting that arranged marriage up and running. Yeah, that's a whole lot for a teenager to handle. That's a whole lot for an adult to handle, let alone teenager, let's be real. But here's where things take a turn for the amazing. XAVIN, being a Skrull, took Carolina's sexuality to heart, and being from a race of shapeshifters, they transformed into a form that would better suit what Carolina was attracted to. Now for a race like the Skrulls, coming from a place where you can shift forms and adjust your sexual identity more freely, it allowed XAVIN and Carolina to have a unique relationship that resonated with many queer readers all over the world. The twists and turns in their love lives with one another another has always managed to stay true to many of the feelings that queer readers associate with too, which is something that Vaughn has proven to champion time and time again in his work. And one of those twists and turns that Carolina and Zavin faced was breaking up, which brings us to number 7, Carolina Dean and Julie Power. Zavin left Earth disguised as Carolina with a group of Maggistanians, the race that Carolina is from, after war broke out between them and the Skrulls, and they could no longer get married. But fear not, friends, Carolina would find love again in the form of Julie Power, who she began a flirtatious relationship with after a trip to the Avengers Academy. They would begin a long-distance relationship in which Julie tried to convince Carolina to move to New York. That never happened though. The two of them would eventually break up, with Julie breaking it off, feeling that they were too incompatible, and that Carolina's first priority was the Runaways rather than their relationship. Will they get back together? Who knows? Up next at number 6, Rictor and Shatterstar. Rictor and Shatterstar are two characters who were introduced in the late 80s and early 90s, the former debuting in X Factor Volume 1 Issue 17 in 1987, and the latter in New Mutants Issue 99 in 1991. When Rictor first hit the scene, he dated his fellow teammate, the female character Wolfsbane, but later he'd head over to Cable's X-Force team where he would meet Shatterstar. Shatterstar was a warrior who was raised on Mojo World, which, oh my god, that is a fucked up childhood. And the two quickly built a long-lasting friendship that would turn into something more when they kissed in X Factor Volume 2 Issue 45 in 2009. Now at the time, Rictor had been depowered and the two had reunited with said kiss. And fun fact, writer Peter David actually won a GLAAD Media Award in 2011 for their story. Oh. Up next at 5, Gravity Kid and Power Boy. The Legion of Superheroes has always been a welcome home for heroes who identify outside of heteronormativity. Gravity Kid is one of those characters. He first appeared in Legion of Superheroes Issue 6 back in 2010 as a student at the Legion Academy. Now his sexuality wasn't brought to the forefront of most of his stories. We've only seen him with fellow student and boyfriend Power Boy a handful of times romantically. Once in Adventure Issue 523, the two were seen coming out of the same bedroom together partially undressed, and another time in Issue 528, after Power Boy had been rejected from Legion, we see Gravity Kid comforting him. And that's about it. So I guess subtext is everything in this case? And hey, if you're really dense, maybe you didn't even realize they were a couple. Now you know. You're welcome. And at number 4, Mystique and Destiny. Another shapeshifting character whose abilities play a large role in the portrayal of their sexuality, Mystique is typically seen as a femme fatale villain of sorts, but her history is much more fascinating than that. Thanks to Chris Claremont, we got a much better picture of the Blue Mutant. Mystique and Destiny, who were technically villains at the time, were in a relationship together and raised not only Nightcrawler, but also Rogue. The two were never explicitly stated as a couple though. It was the 80s after all. They met at the dawn of the 20th century. Destiny is a blind, precognitive mutant who was created by Claremont, who first debuted in 1981's Uncanny X-Men issue 141. Claremont had intended for her to be Nightcrawler's biological mother, with Mystique being his biological father. But thanks to the Comics Code Authority still being somewhat active at the time, there was a prohibition on explicit portrayals of queer characters. Yet the relationship still subtly persisted. Sadly, Destiny would die of old age, leaving Mystique completely heartbroken. Up next at 3, Batwoman and Maggie Sawyer. This couple isn't so much surprising in terms of the fact that they're together, but more so surprising in how their relationship devolved thanks to some negative influence from DC editors. When Bat was given her own series in 2011 during the New 52, J.H. Williams III and W. Hayden Blackman gave us a version of Kate who was in a committed and complex relationship with GCPD captain Maggie Sawyer. The series was praised not only for its accurate representation of a queer couple, but because the writing and the artwork was so damn good. Seriously, look at that artwork. It's beautiful. Now that's coming a long way from how Kate Kane was initially portrayed in the comics. She was a forced love interest of Batman's after the Comics Code Authority became a thing, and DC gave him a family in order to squash any rumors of homosexuality. Yeah, true story there. Anywho, here's where things get silly. In 2013, Williams and Blackman would walk off the series after DC announced that their plans of having Kate and Maggie get married were canned. It was a sudden decision to not allow Kate to marry her partner, and they could not stand by that. Things with the series went downhill from there, with Kate breaking up with Maggie with a note, and then Kate getting involved with a lesbian vampire character who essentially sexually assaulted her. Eventually, the series was cancelled. Just so much those last few sentences there. Moving on, in at number 2, Wolverine and Hercules. Let's get back in the vein of surprising couples with a pairing that no one expected. James Howlett, aka Wolverine, and the son of Zeus, Hercules. Yeah, wow, it's kind Kind of amazing, isn't it? In the alternate universe of 12025, Wolverine is James Howlett, the Governor General of Dominion of Canada. This just keeps getting better. And goes on a slew of different adventures with Hercules, which leads to the two of them being known as the world's greatest heroes. They would kiss on panel after defeating a dragon-esque monster that was attacking Canada. Oh my god, I love this so much. Prior to this, they kept their relationship a secret because of Zeus forbidding any god from hooking up with mortals. Selfish. And when Daddy Dearest found out, he banished the two of them to the pits of Tartarus. Eventually, Howlett would be abducted by Savior, trapped and then used as a power source until escaping alongside the 616 Cyclops. Fear not, friends, Howlett and Herc would be reunited again in Extreme X-Men, where they would resume fighting side by side and resume their romantic relationship. Love persists. It's not all squashed by lesbian vampire rapes. Like, that's not even a joke, that's the worst part. And finally, in at number 1, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. When it was officially announced that Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy were canon, shippers everywhere praised the heavens. Or at least I did. True story. But like a major win, you guys. While Harley Quinn was introduced as romantic sidekick for the Joker, their relationship was absolutely toxic over the years. Y'all know it's true. And when Harley was depicted independently, the character had amazing chemistry with Pamela Isley, aka Poison Ivy. From the animated series to Gotham City Sirens, there's a lot of it. It was getting to the point where the subtext was just too much, people. And with Harley's more recent attempts at being good and venturing into anti-hero territory, her friendship with Ivy only excelled. Really? Ivy just wants to save the planet and happens to use mass eco-terrorism to do so. Villain with a point. All that aside, this pairing, while on and off again, has become arguably more compelling for some readers compared to the one-sidedness of Harley and the Joker's domestic debacles. Needless to say, Harley and Ivy are likely one of the most adored queer couples in comics to this day. Alright, there we have it, friends. There are plenty of other queer couples that we haven't included on this list, including a certain famous Marvel pairing and their famous cover, so if you folks would like to see a part 2, give us a shout in those comments below. Now if you guys dug this list, spread that love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more superhero couples and much more. In the meantime though, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.